What?
I don't believe in people growing on you. Most of the men that we looked at and was like, never. And then we was like, you know what? He's nice. I'm gonna go ahead. Those are the ones that played in your face the most. And you were madder than anything because not only did they play in your face, but they played in your face looking like that. And here's the things that we don't talk about that are practical. It's very hard to navigate an argument with somebody that you already weren't attracted to.
You said, I've surrendered this portion of my life over to God. What was it that led to that?
But I realized I was picking badly, serially. You can either go the direction of something's wrong with everybody, or you could say there's something about my magnet that's only drawing these weird ones. And so let me do something to kind of like reset.
What does it look like to say, God, you can have all things love related?
Sex isn't a part of my dynamic.
Has there been any weariness in your well-doing?
I mean, yeah, you have moments of like, I'm about to go outside because everybody's out there. I think I'm in a good place with God, and I definitely don't want to fumble it for something that ain't meant to last. My Holy Ghost is from Brooklyn, so he talks to me kind of crazy. I was complaining a little bit. The move had taken place, and he finally said to me, if I sent you a husband that had made sure all these things took place, you would be my man, my man, my man. But I did it for you, and you will not be like my God, my God, my God. Despite what my biological clock may say on a Tuesday, on a Thursday, I would have been a horrible parent in my 30s.
Really?
I would have been having kids for kids to love me, and not for me to love them.
You found guys that literally go after business women, so they really don't want nothing serious.
They want you to seriously help them build their business. Guy friends will mess you up because they will tell you, I just want somebody to build with. Y'all ain't married none of these women that y'all describe. Stop trying to be these things and just be yourself.
Do you have a list?
I used to have a height requirement. I'm not tall, so taller than me is still on the list of requirements. I will go to dinner and play Uno at the table, but that's also what I saw in the relationships that I grew up seeing, like people actually enjoyed each other's company.
Have you ever been close to marriage? The Dear Future Wifey podcast has global impact. From Texas,
I have been on this journey of healing and self-discovery, and this podcast has been a vital part of my process.
Guyana,
God's establishing through you a legacy, a display of freedom found in authentic spirituality.
California,
I've learned so much as a single man through your podcast and continue to learn so much as now a married man.
Nigeria,
This is just therapy for me. I've been healed. I've been strengthened in my convictions. I've understood how to do singlehood better.
Amsterdam,
Way that you've shown us how it is possible for a man to be as intentional as you are.
New Jersey,
I appreciate your vulnerability. I appreciate just being able to see that there is life after divorce.
to New York,
I am a single woman, so these episodes really give me hope and courage that God does have a husband for me.
Discover, uncover, and recover love. I'm Lateris R. Whitfield, and this is season 10 of the Dear Future Wifey podcast. Welcome to the Dear Future Wifey podcast. I'm your host, Lateris R. Whitfield. Listen, are you still shacking up with us? If you're still shacking up with us, can we get a commitment? Come on, hit that subscription button and subscribe. Make sure you turn on your notification bell so you'll be notified about upcoming episodes. And while we're at it, stop right now. Hit that like button. Let me tell you why it's so important for engagement when you start watching the episode is because the minute you hit that like button, the minute you subscribe, the minute you start commenting, YouTube says this is an episode that people want to hear, and they'll start recommending it through the algorithm. So can y'all do me a favor and hit that like button? Season 10 has been very interesting. Been having some amazing guests, and I met this powerful woman because she did commentary from one of our episodes that I'm not going to mention, but it was an episode that I had, and my publicist sent me a link and said you would love to hear her take on it. And when I looked at it, I said, this woman is not only emotionally intelligent, but she's spiritually aware. So without further ado, welcome to the Dear Future Wifey podcast, my homie, Joy Pittman. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I done said you're spiritually aware, huh? Not only are you emotionally intelligent,
on this one, now I gotta say good stuff.
Yeah, you gotta say good stuff. I wanted to have, I never prepped you. I didn't prep you on this interview. I didn't say, hey, we're gonna talk about XYZ, because I don't know what we're gonna talk about.
That's fair.
And so we're gonna just chop it up as brothers and sisters in Christ and just have a very informal conversation about your journey as a single woman.
Fair.
Are you feeling hopeful or hopeless in these dating streets?
I have transitioned to hopeful.
Okay.
I had a hopeless season. But I've transitioned to hopeful. And mainly because, and we'll dig into this, but like I've actually taken the responsibility or even the worry about my singleness off of my plate, and I put that on God's plate. So we had a little conversation. I was like, you've given me all these things to do, and I'm trying to do all the things you gave me to do. So I need you to do this one and handle it. So I think since I've done that, and I've learned some things along the way that made that a necessary part of my journey. That doesn't have to be everybody's journey, but it made it a necessary part of my journey that like, this is not something I care to be hyper-focused on. So God, you handle this, I'll handle these things, and we'll meet up at the right time.
So you said it was something that led to this. What was it that led to that? And how long ago was this?
A series of lead-ups.
Okay,
but
many things.
I think really it was just coming to a place where I realized that like I was picking badly, serially, like consistently making bad choices that looked really good, like good choices. So I wasn't like out here picking like obviously bad choices. These were like hidden bad choices, and I was like, there's something. So I think that at some point you can either go the direction of ain't no good men out here, something's wrong with everybody, or you could say there's something about my magnet that's only drawing these weird ones, and so let me do something to kind of like reset and to level set. And so I really just took a pause on it. And I know that like now I'm in a new city. So I moved to Houston, which I mentioned, and people are like, oh, you're not dating, you're not outside. And I have like comfortably said, I'm actually giving that part to God because I don't trust my picker. And not only do I not want to traumatize myself, I don't want to traumatize nobody else on this journey. So I think
Why you feel like you can cause trauma in dude's life?
I just think the wrong matches, you cause trauma if you're mismatched. So it doesn't necessarily mean that anybody is bad.
No, how do you do that though? How do you do that to somebody if coming out of the situations that you've come through, have you gotten to a place of healing? You would say you were healed?
Yes.
And so with that being said, then how are you navigating? Why would you say that you could cause trauma to somebody's life based upon just being a misalignment?
So I think that I'll say myself, I come as a package, right? There's things that I need. There are things that I've experienced. There are things that are assigned to my life as far as ministry, market, whatever those assignments are. So if I'm matched with somebody that is not capable of carrying those things or not capable of covering those things, in the mismatch itself, I'm creating a space where that person's always going to be inadequate. And so you're creating a dynamic where a person, by virtue of who they are, is inadequate for who you are. And so you spend a whole relationship trying to make the person or trying to figure out the person or trying to compensate the person when it really is a mismatch. So that's why I mentioned the trauma piece. Not that I'm going to be in there yelling and screaming, but it's more so that if I need a particular set of things that align with what I carry. And the same thing for a man. If you need a certain particular set of things for what you carry and that person just doesn't have them, trying to make them fit is only going to create a space of frustration.
Joy, let me tell you something. I've never heard that before. I hear about choosing based on alignment, compatibility, and connection and attraction and all that. But the fact that you said you can actually bring about trauma in somebody's life because it's a mixed match. You know that what you carry are certain things, and you know that person can't do that. So now they're arguing with you about you fulfilling purpose, about whatever it is that is misaligned, and you like, we shouldn't have got together in the first place because you really don't like who I am.
And you're not built for me.
At all.
You're not built for me. So why are we going to do this?
My question to you is this. First of all, where are you from? I'm hearing this accent. Where are you from?
I am from Brooklyn, New York.
Okay.
So I was born in Brooklyn. I lived in Queens for a stint and then moved to New Jersey when New York got too expensive. But I feel like Brooklyn never left. So
Brooklyn never left. Yeah. What made you move to Houston?
So life changes. I went through, so in 2020, the short version of this is I started a business in the pandemic. It did really well. In 2023, it crashed.
Really?
Like crashed and burnt. We
You're
had a really
talking about
large,
it went well from 2020 to
2023. Like we were doing, our first year was a 6-figure year.
Dang.
We did almost $500,000 in our second year, and we were tracking. We were at around close to 800,000 or 900,000 in year 3 by like June or July. And then we had a large non-for-profit, which I will not name, broke contract. And I just wasn't big enough. I wasn't savvy enough. I don't think I had done all my legal work. And so when they broke contract, my options were take what they were willing to pay me or try to go to court. And I just took what they were willing to pay me. And we just didn't recover. And I struggled with the idea of not recovering until God basically let me know that like that was your crash course. That was what it was supposed to be. There was something else you were supposed to be doing. I'll let you do that so that you understood what it was to build something from the ground up, to carry that weight and responsibility. But here's the other thing. So it fell apart in 2023. And so in 2023, I don't know what everybody does, but for me, it was like, okay, this fell apart. And I don't know how me and God had really been rocking. I knew him, like we was hanging out, but I wasn't really like locked in. And so I was like, well, let me lock in. Because if I lock in long enough, he gonna get me out this hole I put myself in. So that's the trick. And so I just kind of locked in. And somewhere around the end of 2023, I had been traveling prior to that to like Atlanta and Houston for business stuff, because those are like the Black business kind of like mecca places. And people have been talking to me about relocating. And I was like, Atlanta feels like, but Houston, I would always say Houston felt like home. It just felt more comfortable. And so somewhere around the end of 2023, it was just like, you're going to be in Houston by July. Like, I just had like this knowing moment. I was actually then speaking to my then pastor. I was like, I think I'm going to spend more time in Texas. I'm going to be traveling back and forth. And he was like, well, God showed me you moving to Houston.
Really?
Like that clear. And so that was the confirmation. The struggle was that I knew I was supposed to be moving to Houston, but all my emotions were locked up in people, places, and things in New York. And so I kept trying to make the date later than July. And so as God does, he closes every possible door except that one. And it got really, really crazy. And it's to the point where nothing would work in New York, but everything, to the point where somebody called me and was like, God told me to cover your whole move. So my car and all my household goods got shipped. Yes. I couldn't get nobody to help me in New York, but you was willing to help me get out of it, right? So it was just like, what's going on? So it was just the confirmation. So Houston is an assignment.
Yes.
And I'm still figuring out all the bits and pieces. I will say like my quality, it was a healing move though. Good. I think the quietness, the getting away from all the expectations and not having to be anybody for anyone in particular at the moment gave me a moment to be reflective. And I think that, sometimes we think healing is really, I never heard people say it, but healing is messy. And God actually healed me by saying some real like rough stuff to me about me that I had to like sit with. And sometimes it take God to say the things. If people say them, you get defensive. When God say it, you can roll your eyes a little bit, but you gotta. And so he had to tell me some really honest things about me that I had to sit with.
Name at least two things he said.
Two. So one, I remember right before I moved, my job flew us out to LA for an event, and I was in a hotel room. My goods had already moved, and I hadn't gotten here yet. So it was like late June of last year, and I'm in a hotel room. I think I was sharing it with somebody earlier. I was in a hotel room, like bawling, crying. Just people had done me wrong. How could they treat me this way? Like I was having my full-on pity party with God and really telling him what I thought I needed him to do and how he needed to fix it and address it. And he started responding to me. And so I get quiet because I'm waiting for him to say this thing like my child, you know, this one thing. And he was like, when have you ever cried this hard over anybody you offended? You are broke down over who offended you. When have you spent this much time weeping over who you offended? So I'm in between tears and blinking because I'm trying to figure out, do I keep crying? Is he going to say something different? And I had to sit with it and I had to acknowledge that I know that there are people I've offended and I've never wept for them. I had never gone to God and like, God, please make sure you heal. While I'm talking about my healing and my...
That's good.
So he got me. And then he said, and what if I answered their prayers about you? So while you want me to do X and Y and make them do this and make them do that, what if I answer for them the prayers that they pray over the offense that you caused them? And so it gave me a crash course, one on offense and how we carry it and how much arrogance and pride is locked up in when we hold offense and expect the world to owe us. But it also made me like realize that like I'm also the villain in somebody's story, right? And so that forgive others, forgive our debts as we forgive our debtors. So that was one of kind of the lessons. And there was another time where he was just basically like, you're not safe. And I was like, well, he was like, you're safe until till you get overwhelmed, till you get frustrated. And I was a serial venter. So if I would hold things, and then when I got upset, I would vent. The problem with venting is normally emotional. It's not strategic.
Yep.
It's not discerning. And so you've now held all these things and kept all these confidences. And on a random Tuesday, because you was on full, you've blurted out
everything,
all the things.
for the last 3 months.
He was like, so you're not safe. And the things that come with when we talk about relationships, whether they're intimate relationships, whether they're just besties, whatever that is that if your safety within your relationship has a limit, you're always going to be, somebody's going to make you mad.
Let me ask you this. Had what God was revealing, has that been something that guys in the past complained about?
It wasn't so much a complaint. I think and I don't even know if they knew, because sometimes you're venting and people don't even know that you've like said the things. I think that what registered for me was it became hard to navigate those relationships, because once you vent, once you pull that stuff out there, whoever you vented to, it literally changes the dynamic between that person and your relationship. And then I also think it made me a poor communicator in the relationship, because I already got it off my chest. I've held it. I acted like everything was okay. So the person probably thought I was fine. And then I vented in spaces that I thought was secret and safe, and then I would just come back and be okay. Yeah. But nothing ever got addressed. So I don't know if anybody ever came back to me and was like, I heard you vented, but it was more so I knew it was damaging, because it was poor in the communication aspect. But again, when we're thinking about the types of relationships that we want, like we're on Dear Future Wifey, right? Yeah. So we're thinking about being spouses and things of that nature, like exposing your mates, exposing your partners in ways, whether they find out or not. Yeah. It's just, it's rough, right, to do those things. And so, yeah.
Have you ever been close to marriage?
Yes. Twice. I was very close in my 1920s. But it was very premature, and we was thinking we was doing something that we wasn't actually, I don't know what we was doing. But it was a very argumentative situation. So I think it was just like everybody love each other, and then you don't love each other, and then you love each other again, and you don't love each other.
But y'all plan on getting married. What made it close to marriage to you?
Well, they asked.
And did he ask with a ring? Or he
asked. He asked.
Or did he give you a baby boy proposal?
It was a baby boy proposal.
He said, I love you. You're probably going to be my wife. Is that what he said?
It was a baby boy. And I think I would have, so I think I say close because he asked, I was very close in all of the spaces, and I would have said yes. So if he wasn't close, I was. I'll put it that way. Yeah. So one of us was close. One of us was close. And then number two, I actually, and we won't go fully down this rabbit hole, but I actually was married and divorced, and that relationship was problematic for a number of reasons. We didn't really even live together for a long amount of time. So they were in the military. We barely lived together. It became functional. I got married after my dad passed. So it was also a grief kind of like feel. Mm-hmm. And it was really, when I think back, like it was toxic from like the onset. So things around the toxicity were like, we're dating, and then there's an argument, and the argument, every argument would add with another level of commitment. Mm-hmm. So it'd be like, okay, this argument was really bad. Let's be boyfriend and girlfriend. Now this argument is even worse.
Let's get married.
Let's get engaged. Like it was just like every bad blow up added to another layer of commitment. But I also realized that like it allowed me to escape. So there was a lot of escapism. It allowed me to, because of the distance with military and overseas and all those things, I wasn't single, but I wasn't really locked into anything. And it just got to a point where it was, and I also knew, I think also that's a relationship that I knew was not a God relationship. So as a believer, I think it's also tricky when we walk into situations knowing that they're not God ordained. Yep. And I don't know if we believe that either we gonna outpace God but whatever it is. And so then you come to the realization of like, I've wasted your time, because I knew at the onset, this was not a God situation. And if you didn't know, I knew. Mm-hmm. And so owning that and making that a real moment. And it's also why I am conscious to not do that again.
Let me ask you this. I want to go back to this because we say stuff in Christianese that sometimes people don't understand. You say, I've surrendered this portion of my life over to God. What does it look like to say, God, you can have all things love related and relationships and you handle that? What does that look like?
Got you. So the first part, well, first of all, and I don't know, we don't talk about this a lot, but like you should be keeping your parts to yourself. So that was the first part of God, you can have this is sex isn't a part of my dynamic. And I think for most of us, if we be honest, if you're not having sex, it absolutely changes your dating situation.
Absolutely.
So I be looking at the people that's, oh, y'all always outside. Like, I'm not judging your life, but you got a lot of prospects for somebody that ain't doing nothing. So at a certain age, because the expectations are generally in the world, even in church.
Why you say they got a lot of prospects?
I don't know. I know that for me, most of the conversations, once celibacy or any of those things even come up,
people
start ghosting. So like, y'all on date 97. Like sure, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not, maybe you're doing something I don't know. But that, I know that taking sex off the table and then the things that lead to sex, because I also think that people think, well, I'm going to take sex off the table, I'm going to do all the other stuff that might put me in a weird spot. So taking certain things off the table made that decision a little different, right? Because then it was like, I don't want to go through a series of 3 dates, drop the bomb, 3 more dates, drop the bomb. I'm not good with swiping left and right. And I am actually not a good serial dater. So I'm not good with remembering who I went to the movies with. Yeah, who I went to the movies with. Did I see it with you? And then I got too many things happening. So I'm going to be talking to you about the movie I saw with him. It's just, I'm not built for it. I'm very clear that I'm not built for it.
So that's interesting. So you believe in being exclusive at the very beginning then? First date exclusivity. Here's
what I will also say. That my exclusivity doesn't have to be yours, but that's my exclusivity.
But does that get you hurt? So mind you, here you are, you say, I don't date multiple people. Most men do. I don't know a man on this earth that don't be dating multiple people until he decides which one he wants. So he meets you, he's like, hey, this is your first date. Do you ask him, hey, are you seeing anybody else? Or do you just assume that he's not, or you just don't care to ask that question?
First date, no.
All right, so first date. He on a date, he does this, you like him. He's like, oh my God, you feel like y'all emotionally, physically aligned, everything. You're like, okay, I like him, I want to see him more. When do you ask him if he's seeing other people?
So I don't know if there's like a specific date number. Like I think there's a progression point, but I also, and this may sound crazy, I absolutely believe that our dating styles don't necessarily have to match. So I don't assume because I say I don't have the capacity to entertain 15 people that you may not be talking to multiple people. Right. But I think that also puts the guardrails on the things that we aren't doing. And I think that where we get mixed up in this is when I am saying that I am emotionally monogamously wrapped up in a relationship with the person that's dating. Me just saying, if I'm entertaining a person, I'm entertaining that person. If it works out, it does. If it doesn't, and then I can go to not entertaining and re-entertaining. It's different than I am fully entangled. I've already drawn your name. I've doodled your name in my notebook.
You don't put that last name with your name.
And so I think a lot of times, and I'm not even going to say in monogamous relationships, I know that people that are dating and sleep with multiple people and all of them are potential husbands. And I think that's, mixy because we're mixing a lot of things. So I think one is about being absolutely grounded in what is your personal dating style, right?
So here you go. How does that work? So you are only seeing him. He's seeing multiple people. At what point, and you're getting to know, you like him. At what point do you even ask him that? Even if it doesn't matter, because you say it doesn't matter until when? That question got to get asked. You're gonna be calling him. He ain't answering the phone.
Well, I think, but that normally becomes a trigger then, right? Like I'm calling you, not answering. You're inconsistent with your text messages. So those are things then that have nothing to do with how many people you're dating. It has to do with how excited I am about the level of engagement and attention I'm getting.
But you walked into this.
I walked into it, right? But again, I can't necessarily control who else you're entertaining.
Right.
But I can deal with the fact that I'm not enjoying how you're entertaining me.
But see, that's what I'm saying. This is where it gets tricky.
It does.
So this is what we're.
But how do we dictate? So, and I'll use this example.
Because you just said you don't care that he may date multiple people.
So let me give the example. And I reference my parents a lot because I think they were a good example to me of relationships. So my mom would, no, it wasn't 1913.
What was it?
I mean, but game been game for a long time.
Yeah,
my parents got married.
You have Instagram.
No, my parents got married in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
I was born in 78.
But G been G for a long time. It's just different G, right? So here we are. So when my parents met, my father told my mother that he was dating multiple women, and basically they each had a day. They had a day. This is a story. This is a real story. My brother will vouch for it. They each had a day, and so my mother held him to his day. And so if he would call her on a day that was not his day, and she said at that time it was harder to do because you didn't have wait and call ID, so she would just not answer the phone. She said, I probably missed a bunch of calls, but I was not available for him on the day. And what happened was he would then persistently be trying to hang out on a day that wasn't his day. And so finally she asked him, like, are you clearing your schedule? Because this ain't that. And so he made the decision to say, actually, you get all the days. I think she's actually saying, he was like, Renee, you get all the days, right? Like, and that was his decision. So it wasn't necessarily a press for him to do this thing or to be performative in this area. It was, these are my boundaries, and in order for you to be in my space, you have to be my boundaries. So my thing goes back to, if I'm saying that in order to entertain, to court, to date me, there's a certain level of attentiveness and availability that goes with it. That means if you got to push everybody else to the corner of your plate, that's what you got to do. But if you're not willing to do that, then we're not able to date. But I cannot walk around in your phone. I cannot, every time you go to the bathroom or you going to take a test, I can't do, because that's the type of worry to have these women sitting outside people's houses with binoculars and the girls is riding out. I don't have that type of energy. So I think my focus is, am I being courted and dated in the way?
But could you have done what your mom did?
Now, yes. Then no.
Okay. Why now?
Because I'm not in thirst mode. I think I'm also not hyper anxious, and I'm not chasing it down. So I've literally landed in a if it come place.
So this is where I'm talking about. That's what I recommend for any woman. See, the reality is this. What's yours is going to be yours. Mm-hmm. And if you said, I'm not in the place of thirst, so you knew that when you were thirsty, you operated in a different dynamic. You why you ain't call me? Why you tripping all this? Now you like, if you call, you call. If you don't, you don't. If I'm available, I'm available. If I'm not, I'm not. When you have that mindset, like your mama had, I didn't see that story going that way. I didn't know
I didn't either when you started.
Yeah, I said, you finna talk about something way back then where he met her and he said, you gonna be my wife at first sight or whatever. And you was like, Dad said, listen, your day is Wednesday. Mm-hmm. And she said, cool.
And he was trying to call on a Thursday, and she was like, nah.
She's like, nope, your day
As a matter of fact, they actually like different people. They just had things in common. So they weren't even each other's choice, but they were into like karate flicks and playing spades at the table in school and all that. So they were liking each other's friends, but ended up finding a friendship in the relationship. And so again, I will say that, like, I believe I'm hyper fortunate because I also experienced the goods. And so in my mind, the goods exist, right? Like, I've actually lived in a household with not perfect marriages, but good marriages. And so I believe they exist. But the other thing is, and I'll share this, a couple months ago, somebody was showing interest. They were texting, calling, following up, popping in on my lives, all the things. And I'm at a level of carefulness now that I was like, God, I need you to do me a favor. It was it was literally a Wednesday. And I was like, if this is not dry it up. I did. I said, God, if this is not it, dry it up. The next day, the phone didn't ring. So I was like, maybe it's a coincidence.
Let me call him and make sure he all right.
So I texted, and the energy was weird. And I was like, heard you, God. It was that fast. But I know another season of my life where I would have been scared to pray the prayer.
Yes.
Or I would have been trying to force God's hand.
Yes.
Or he would have answered me and I would have circumvented the answer. And in this particular one, I was like, I don't feel like fumbling this. So oh, that was nice. It was nice that they were engaging, good energy for a while, and we're going to head out. But I also realized because of the things that I don't do in my dating process, I didn't have to untangle anything.
That's good.
Other than I liked you texting me in the morning and now you not. That was really the biggest I don't get these morning texts, right? And I can survive that. So I think if we're gonna be, and this is a Christian podcast, right?
Yeah.
So if we're gonna do that, a lot of the heartache that we are in is because we're impatient. Oftentimes, I also think we're not actually even clear, especially for those of us that are dating older, we're not clear. That idea of growing with people when you're 17, 18, 19, 20 is different. At 40, you kind of grownish. And so being clear about who you are and what you need.
Yeah.
And then also being really clear about what your deal breakers are, but also being like, if this is going to be a God-led thing, I can't do all the things and then ask God to make it fit. I have to be willing to say, before I'm emotionally invested, before I've spent money, before I've drawn the name in the notebook, before I've bought the wedding dress that nobody knew about, before I do all the things, let me insert God early and let him tell me what it is that I need to know and be willing to listen. But if I'm just going to make it work and tell God to fix it on the back end, fix it Jesus on the back end, right, then we end up with what we end up with.
So how long have you been in this heart posture?
Probably since a little bit before I left New York. So a little over a year. About a little over a year.
And has there been any weariness in your well-doing?
I mean, yeah, you have moments of I'm about to go outside because everybody's out there. I also think that the assignments that God has given me specifically in ministry and the responsibilities that I have to those things, on a low day, I got to look at somebody tomorrow and present Christ, and am I willing to waste it all on this moment, or do I need to be sitting in church Sunday and everybody think I'm worshiping but I'm really repenting and Lord, so it's I think the longer you stay
there, hold on, you gotta stay there. This is good. That's good. You said other people may look at you like you worshiping,
in deep worship, and you're in sob repentance, trying to gather yourself back from the things. And here's, I think, I will say this particular journey, even with this move. So from information, both of my parents are deceased. My sister also passed away. I have a very small family. So I have a brother and a sister that are living. My grandparents are deceased. So it's I lost a lot of people in an amount of time. And I realized, and God was showing me, when your father died, you started fathering yourself. So running the business and having a job and making sure you were financially stable, you started self-parenting.
How long was that?
My dad died in 2009.
Okay.
And I was in my mid to late 20s, right?
Okay.
So I started taking care of things, and then I still lived at home with my mom. So I then was doing all the stuff that he taught me how to do. Yeah. So like the boiler and do the things I then fell into that role. And so there was a period of my life where I was fathering myself, and I realized that I literally fathered myself and became my own protector and all those things, because I didn't have a slew of uncles that jumped in and was like, well, your dad is not here, I'm still going to check who you dating. And I didn't have that influx of people. And my siblings were also dealing with the same losses, right? And so I realized that I had started to guard and protect and manage a lot of things on my own. And this move to Texas, I will actually say, there were a lot of moments where I could not do it. And there was nobody to call, right? There was nobody to come and save the day. And so God literally became that. And so one of those moments where he gathered me in the chest, because he's my Jesus, my Holy Ghost is from Brooklyn, from the hood side. So he talks to me kind of crazy. And I was complaining a little bit, the move had taken place. I'm in the house, everything went. And I was fussing a little bit about all these things. And I feel like I have to rely on other people in this season. And I don't want to, and all this stuff. And he finally said to me, he was like, if I sent you a husband that had made sure all these things took place, got your move done, got you unpacked, because all these things actually happened without, he was like, you would be my man, my man, my man. He was like, but I did it for you. and you will not be like, my God, my God, my God. You're complaining at me. In the absence of this, I'm doing these things for you, and you're still waiting for me to send somebody to do the thing. So if I sent you a rich husband who did it, you would be on Facebook posting about your rich husband, but you have not posted about your good God. Right. And I think in that moment, I realized that like there were some relationships that I had to experience with God first, especially fathering, husbandry, because we're the bride of Christ. Like if I don't know how to be a daughter to God, if I don't know how to be a bride to Christ, I'm not going to do that well in any other construct. And so, to be honest, some of those epiphanies are what slowed me down, because it was like, well, wait a minute. What is it to enjoy God's provision? What is it to be in a space where I literally don't lack for anything? I'm not hungry. I'm not thirsty. My bills are paid. My car ain't been repossessed. Like I went through really high highs and low lows, and am doing better than most people. And it's not because I'm that smart, and it's not because nobody left me in a great big inheritance. None of those things. It's that God has literally been a provider. And so this season really has been about me learning to enjoy God's provision. Yeah. And it has become almost like, well, if he's going to be my father, and I don't want to be like too antiquated, but like if my living dad were here, my dad would be checking out this dude, whoever this dude was, because that's who my father was. So now you took the one I had down here. So now Heavenly Father, they got to meet muster with you. And that was part of me giving it to him, is like, if I'm allowing you to be my father in the same way my earthly father would have been, he would have checked him at the door. I don't want him to meet him. I don't want his opinion. I can't bypass that with my Heavenly Father. So God, you meet him. I want your opinion. Tell me what you think. And being single, I mean, I don't want to say too much, but like anybody single over 40, hormones are different. Like everything is different. So it's not like you just ankles crossed, like, but I don't know. Like I'm in a good place. I think I'm in a good place with God, and I don't want to fumble that for something that's not, I don't want to fumble it, period. And I definitely don't want to fumble it for something that ain't meant to last.
Joy, you setting some people free today. There's somebody watching this episode. It's moments in my episodes that I'll hear like a direct connection to a person. And it's a woman. She's going to DM you, but it's a woman. Actually, there's many of them, but they're going to tell you that you just set them free with the ideology that they've been believing that has come into direct opposition with the truth. Yeah. And so the truth is, before your spouse comes, because a lot of times Christian women be like, God is my husband. You know, they'll say stuff like that, and then, you know, Christian brothers, even men at all, be like, this weird. I'm not. You
saving a seat for them at the table. You got to plate for Jesus.
Yeah, they're plate. They be sitting there like, Jesus, what would you like to eat? Be like, okay. You're doing too much. But the heart posture of it is where you're supposed to be, where it's, listen, check them. And most people are afraid, and I prayed that prayer before. I'd be like, God, this ain't the person for me, remove them. I'd be like, what happened to them? Like, I needed 2 more days at least. Can I get the weekend?
Pillars of salt they become, okay?
I've had situations I'll say, God, if this ain't the person for me, make it so plain. They'll call me and say the very thing that would annoy the mess out of me. I'd be like, the stuff that I said, if a woman ever says this, I know she ain't the
verbatim
one. And then they'll call me and say, I'll be like, good Lord. I said, do you realize what you said? She's like, what you mean? I said, do you realize what you said? And she's like, no. And I'm going, you can't be the one. Because I said, you can never say that to me. And so the reality of it all is that's a great place of surrender. I call that the heart posture of surrender. Where you say, God, not my will, but let thy will be done. It's what Jesus did on the cross. So basically in the Garden of Gethsemane, where he says, listen, take this cup from me. And then right after that, he says, Lord, not my will, but let thy will be done. The reality of being, you know, on the other side of 40 and knowing that you're in the heart posture of total surrender can look extremely scary. Because you're like, God, you're taking too long. Yep. Especially if you desire kids, don't have kids. You have kids?
No, I don't have children.
Do you desire kids?
Yes.
And so you're desiring kids on the other side, and you like, God, now what did I do wrong? Because how did I end up here? This is not where I'm supposed to be. How do you reconcile that with yourself?
So one, I think self-honesty is one of those like big things. And despite what my biological clock may say on a Tuesday, on a Thursday, I would have been a horrible parent in my 30s.
Really?
Yes, because I would have been having kids for kids to love me and not for me to love them, right? So I think the self truths, if we really like sit with some of our own truths, I'll keep it to me. Some of the things that God has allowed me and helped me to be honest with myself about has taken away some of the frustration of the weight. Not that the weight gets automatically easier, but it has a little bit more sense to it. I would not have been a good parent in my 20s. I would not have been a good parent in my 30s. And so at this point, I think I'm really in a space where, if he graces me with children, and I've also made peace with the idea. And I think it's not a consolation prize. I've decided that I'll be content either way. Right. And that's not a consolation of, well, I'm close to a certain age, so I'm just going to say that. I've really made peace with that. I also think that loss has helped me navigate what it means to reconcile that I'm okay with what God allows and things working out for my good and for my benefit. And so I look at the stories I know plenty of women who, got married on a Tuesday, was pregnant by Thursday. I know those stories. I know the stories of women who end up adopting. There are other paths forward. And I think I'm also graced that I live in a time where I know we love to go to Sarah in the Bible and Elizabeth, but I know people in my community who in their 40s got married and had children and had healthy children. So I think those testimonies, yes. And I think sometimes then you have to have an honest conversation with God and say, today is a little bit harder than yesterday. Good. Right? This particular, some days I'm good and we cruising, and then Mother's Day will come up and I'm grappling with the fact that I'm neither a mother nor do I have a mother. Father's Day will come up, right? Ooh. So those things come up and I have to be honest on those days and say, God, today is a little bit harder to trust you. Today, trusting you when I can't trust, the stuff that we say. It's harder today. Yeah. I'm trying to do it. I'm willing to meet you, but you're going to have to maybe take 3 steps today. I only got 1. So if you take 3 steps, I take 1. And he has without fail, in those moments, given me either a peace, he's reconciled the emotion. And then some days I just had to cuddle up with God and cry and be okay. Or some days I had to reach out to somebody and say, this is what I'm struggling with today. The people that are safe, right? And they, shared their things and we giggled through it or whatever. But I think one of the things that we leave out in Christianity to that point is endurance. Is that there are moments that it don't feel better and you endure the bad feeling because you don't know an athlete that doesn't learn endurance. If athletes stop working out at the point of this weight is too heavy, right? So I think Christendom, one of the things that we have given up is the doctrine of endurance, that there's some things that you will suffer and endure for this call and this walk. You will have your potential thorn in whatever your thorn in the flesh is. And so there's also that component of I don't have an expectation that every day has to end the way I want it to.
Which makes a lot of sense because that's one of the fruit of the Spirit is long suffering. Yeah. And we don't ever want to acknowledge that fruit. You're like, long suffering? Oh, I don't want to suffer long. I don't want to suffer at all. I don't want to suffer short. I just don't want to suffer.
No medium
so
suffering.
And so when you look at that, the same heart posture that you have around I wouldn't been a good mother. Could you have been a good wife if you got married in your 30s?
I wasn't. No, because again, I think I will say everything probably that I did between 27 and probably 40. And I'm not gonna say everything, but most relational things.
Let me ask you this. You were married what age?
2013. So I was 30, 29, 30, about 30.
And for how long you were married?
7 years.
Oh, so you were married for a pretty long time. Yeah. So 7 years. Mm-hmm. And so you said in your 7-year marriage, when you look back, hindsight being 2020, you wasn't a good wife.
It was predominantly, I did good wife things, but my heart posture was I wanted somebody to love me. I think here's the middle. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be loved. Right. But when the entire motive is somebody loving you and then they gotta love you this way, and then they gotta love you all the time, and then it becomes very self-centered, right? They don't get to have a bad day because they don't love you. Like everything becomes that. And so, you know, I know how to cook. I cook clean. You know, I worked a job. I paid, you know, I bought dinner sometimes. That stuff. But like, if you're not emotionally, I don't want to say like an emotionally good person, but that's kind of how I feel. Like if you know how to do all of the transactional things, but you are emotionally like selfish or draining or not even aware. And I don't know that I thought I was bad then, but like, look, it's a hindsight. Yeah. Like I did a lot of good things. I bought socks and stuff. You know, like I did stuff, but I really was not. It was a very selfish period, emotionally selfish period of my life because I had not processed grief. And so when you don't process grief and loss, then every relationship is about filling a void. And so it just is inherently selfish.
How have you handled, has guys in the past tried to spin the block?
I mean, yeah, no. Yes, I had one spin the block a lot of times. So people gonna watch this podcast and they're gonna know. I had one in particular who spun the block for a very long time until we had like actually they spun the block from, it's the one I was marrying at 19, and they spun the block I think probably until like 2021, and I finally was like very mean. Like I had a very mean conversation with them, like I want you to go away.
But were you entertaining them every time you came around?
No. So early on, yes. So like early on, because breakup was new, and then every so often they would pop up in ways that would be like, I would be cordial, but I wouldn't necessarily like fully feed into it.
So you had no hope. It wasn't a situation where you was like, you know, maybe God keeps bringing him around because she said, nope, not at all.
No, because, and without going like the details, like, there was like a situation where like in that hole we were going to be together, they went in another direction with another person.
Okay.
So you're spinning the block in that thing with that other. No, thank you. It's a no.
What about anybody else? Has anybody else that something that just didn't take off as fast as you would have hoped, but then they done slid back in your DMs?
I've had
lately?
some that were consistently inconsistent. So it would be, they would always just resurface and have a new version of themselves and like, oh no, I get it now. And that would work for a couple of weeks. And then you would go back to the same inconsistencies. Yeah, the default setting. Especially in these entrepreneurial streets. Especially in these Black business streets, and I'm gonna try to keep myself together and not manifest nothing in this room. But it's literally like that commentary about like Black love and generational wealth. It's so full of like, mighty God. It's weird because you're literally having conversations where we're talking about generational dynastic wealth, Black business ownership building, and we're also like running. I was experiencing men that were like running through women as a means of building their businesses. And because we want to be part of the empire, I literally had somebody tell me, fold down your business and come where, and I'm like, mine make more than yours. Like where they do that at? But I realized, and I think that's another area where you start realizing that people want your capacity. Like they want what you can do. They want you to bring to the table without wanting all of you. Right? Because a person, make it a man, a dog, anybody that likes you, they want to hold space with you. They want to be around you. They don't only want to be around you for necessity. So when you realize the only time your phone ring is when they got a business problem, you don't even like me on a human level, right? But you like what I do. And so those people I started being able to like spot out early, or people that just like the idea of you. Like,
so you tell me you found guys that literally go after business women and just be running.
I'll give you their names after the podcast, but yes, I will say their names. But it's a part of so
they don't want that. So they really don't want nothing serious.
They want you to seriously help them build their business. They want you to see, their CEO. But it's non-committal, right? So it's you're helping me in my business. And I've watched people serially, every time they're with somebody, I'm like, okay, you about to get a website. You about to get, like, you can see them building their stuff on the hope of relationships. And the tricky part about entrepreneurship, like with church, is that there's an assumption of benevolence. When I go to church, I'm assuming that the men, for those of us that assume, you assume that the men in church is a heart after God. So there is slightly maybe less of a guard. Even though we're slightly guarded, in these Black business streets, you're like, oh, he's talking about generational wealth and legacy building. And clearly you cannot build anything generational or dynastic without a family structure, right? Because they just don't work that way. So I got to assume that he is going to be minded. He's building a generation of wealth for himself. And them kids he done already fathered that he got to pay child support for. He is not trying to build anything with and for you. And so, again, though, we have to figure out like how to weed that stuff out and not be so anxious for the things. But yeah, that was I walked into entrepreneurship like, oh, this is amazing. Like, these Black men in here and they're good earners and, you know, they're talking good conversation and like they're, you know, queen and they want to build but you can't talk to me when we're all in them together because you have 6 of us are queens. So, I don't want nobody to know. No, you don't want her to know because you're talking to her too at the same time. And the biggest lessons I learned in that area was that operation in the gray doesn't work for me. And that's either black or white, because the gray area that people will leave you in will have you doing your best audition for a role that they are never intending to fill, right? Because it's gray. So black and white says you either is or you ain't. Gray, the maybes have burnt me, and so I don't do maybes. Maybe call me later then when you figure out whether it's black or white. But for those of us that will concede to people's gray area, they're non-committal and you're auditioning. And who does that help? So you're trying to prove what you bring to the table. You're trying to show that you're a good partner. You're a good spouse. You're a good listener, but they don't got to listen to you back. You answering their text messages, but yours is sitting on read. Like, you're auditioning. They're not looking to fill that role.
Do they at least say that they're looking to get married, or they just say the buzzwords of building generational wealth? Without all the drama, I had one. They loved me. I was wife. I mean, like, it's all the things, and you like, I need you to love me outside. I love these text messages. When we get into this conference with all these other women, walk with me real close. Carry my bag. That's to me. Did you say that?
Yes. Carry my things.
What did they say?
Oh, come on. You know I don't write my business. Child, they gonna know I'm talking about them. I don't write my business. But it's just one of the things where, like, but again, at different times in your life, you think you let people convince you that these are the requirements. And unfortunately, and this is, I hope my friends don't cancel me. I grew up with more male friends than female friends. Like, I always had guy friends. And so your guy friends will mess you up because they will tell you all the things that they, you know, I just want somebody to build with. I just want somebody. And where all registered to me was, y'all ain't married none of these women that y'all described. These women couldn't build. They didn't come with bricks. They didn't come with straw, no hammer, no nails, right? So I was walking around trying to be the woman that my guy friends had described, riders and showing up. Y'all went and found women who did none of the things. And somewhere my logical mind said, girl, that's G. That's the stuff that they sit around and complain with their boys about, but you don't really want all this stuff because you didn't marry that. And so when friend number 5 married the antithesis of this superwoman list that they gave, I said, child, y'all are playing in my face. Y'all got me out here trying to build myself into a person that does not exist, right? But I think we got to pay attention. And I actually asked one or two of my friends, like, how y'all laying here? Because this ain't what y'all was telling me for the last 10 years, and I'm feeling away. Because surely I'm showing up, and it wasn't so much even that the men asked me for the things. The men around me that I respected was saying all the things that they wanted a woman to be. And so here I am, embodying.
And so you would watch them marry the opposite of
the total opposite.
So how did you reconcile that? Why did they marry these women? What was it based on?
And was still calling me, asking me questions. Don't call my phone, ask her. Ask who you married. No. So what I had to reconcile was
they were just lying from the very beginning.
I don't think they were lying. I think that I think that some of the things that they were asking for were ideal things.
Yes.
I also think they fell in love with somebody that wasn't the ideal.
That's the part.
And that's who they married.
That's the
and
part.
So I think this is what led me to stop trying to be these things and just be yourself. And somebody's going to fall in love with the actual you and they'll marry you. But when you're trying to fill wish lists of people, this woman met none of these requirements and expectations. And then the things that you tell me about, oh, I love her sense of you didn't tell me nothing about Funny on this list. Funny was on the list. She can't cook. Cooking was on the list. Ma'am doesn't heat up a pot. Like, help me But there was something about that person that you liked, that you loved. And I think sometimes we don't give ourselves the opportunity to be loved and liked for ourselves because we're trying to fill all these orders.
Are you the same way though? Do you have a list that you have in your mind, but if you met a guy that was outside that list because you have a connection with him, like for instance, you talked about the guy says, oh, she's funny. Mm-hmm. Are you attracted to funny guys?
Snarky, like sarcastically funny guys.
Yeah.
So not like funny, but like snide comment.
Yeah.
I'm
witty.
Like we at an event and somebody doing something weird, I need to be able to cut eyes across the room and be like, yeah. And you know why I'm cutting eyes, right? So yes, that witty. I think I have some deal breakers, but the deal breakers I think that I've bumped into are more about like you have to have the ability to carry conversation. Yeah. And like thoughtful conversation, not like rap lines. Like you dropping bars. I don't want you to drop bars in me all day. I want you to be able to have thoughtful, intelligent conversation. I would like for the person to be ambidextrous, like be able to say something really smart and have me scratching my head and then also like watch cartoons with those kind of like, and those are more about like how I enjoy time and like whatever. But I think I've gotten over. I used to have a height requirement. I'm not tall, so taller than me is still on the list of requirements. But I'm not necessarily like standing against this wall.
How tall are you?
I am 5'4".
Okay.
So I'm gonna leave me with a 5'7". I would like to put a shoe on.
A shoe,
at least one. A good piece of 2 to 3 inches, but and that's a preferential. But like my dad was showing my brother. So I don't even come from tall men. So this thing about tall men, I don't even know where it came from, right? You know, yourself? Teeth are important. I would like you to have all of them. And I would like you to be in alignment.
This thing about tall, you created that for yourself.
I made that up. My father was a good 5'9", 5'8". My brother might be kissing 5'8", 5'9". Don't get mad at me. He's gonna try to be taller. There's no my grandfather.
When you said tall, what would you say though?
Tall, I was thinking like 6 feet. Like give me 6'2". Give me 6'2", 6'3".
You just made that up to yourself.
I literally tried to date somebody that was 6'6", and we looked like I was walking with my parent. Like I was looking at our shadows, and I was like, I look like I'm walking. Like this is a child and an adult walking together. It was wild, but. Again, I don't even know when 6'6" or 6'3" or 6'2". I don't know when that became a thing. It was just people said, they're tall, and you like. Hi.
So even though you felt like a child and adult, was you attracted to the big height difference?
I was attracted to the height difference, but he also was like intelligent. Like it was other things, but like he was tall. But I don't even know where it came from. Like I have nowhere to point a reference to. I have no point of reference.
You just said, I want a tall guy. And then got one time, but I feel like a child.
And I'm looking at our shadows like, this looks like we walking into the first day of school.
Y'all taking pictures of the first day of school?
First day of school.
And so you just say now, you manage your expectations to say it's just taller than you. So you 5'4", if you 5'5", you good?
I said I would like to put a shoe on. We did say
5'6",
7, 8. Can we do some birthday? But I also feel like attractions happen. So like there may be somebody like I was conversationally attracted to you, and then you stood up, and I was like it's
you would do that? That happens with you?
You stand up and it's like, all right, I can deal with this because there's something else, right, that balances. I think most of our checklists are
very
assuming, it's all superficial, assuming there's nothing else going on. I would like these things.
He's assuming there's nothing else
going on, but there's like other things that like tie into it. So I do think that there are some things that just I'm not going to be attracted to, and because I just have never been.
Right, like what?
I don't believe in people growing on you.
Why not? It hasn't happened before? It had to have happened.
I'm going to say this. I'm gonna also say this.
The person you married, that happened?
The women will agree. No. The women will agree when I say this. Most of the men that we looked at and was like, never. And then we was like, you know what? He's nice. I'm gonna go ahead. Those are the ones that played in your face the most. And you were madder than anything because not only did they play in your face, but they played in your face looking like that. If I gotta be mad, I want to be able to show the picture to somebody. They be like, girl, I understand. But like, if I got to explain what I was even thinking the day that I let you play in my face, and every time I have made that type of like, I'm really not attracted to you, but you're nice and I'm going to make this adjustment, those have been the ones that have played in my face. And I was spitfire mad.
Why you get mad? So you saying that if he was fine and cute,
you can at least rationalize it. You can at least, when you tell a story, somebody gonna say, girl, I know how you got caught up. But when they like,
they're like, what was you thinking?
Like, girl, what? He was supposed to love you forever. He was supposed to be grateful.
He supposed to be grateful.
Yeah, like, but again, that's my preference, right? Like so I think that's every time it's ended that way. So I just like, nope. If I'm gonna be mad, I'll be mad at somebody I can explain.
Somebody I can explain is crazy.
Oh, my kids have a fighting chance. I don't want to have to explain to my kids why. Listen, mommy's not ugly, but this is gonna be your lot in life because I was out here making bad choices. Also, this is the things that I've wrapped up into God being my dad. You love me, God, and you wouldn't want that for me. You would not want me to have to like squint at somebody. And here's the things that we don't talk about that are practical, because these are like practical things.
Cool, talk about the practical.
It's very hard to navigate an argument with somebody that you already weren't attracted to. It is. You trying to be in a relationship and you already weren't attracted to them. You done made these concessions and now they say something slick to you. You laughing because you know I'm not lying. It's so much harder to reconcile. I know this did not. It's just harder to reconcile.
Why is it harder to reconcile?
You can't even get the question out because you know the answer already.
Why is it harder to reconcile?
Because I'm already making all these concessions and you gonna say something crazy to me? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You're only gonna say nice things. You're gonna be on time for every date. You're gonna buy flowers. You're gonna do all that. You are not gonna look like this. And I gotta now reconcile that you have said something crazy to me. Because also you would say something crazy to me, I'm gonna be triggered to be like, now you, right? So these are the things, like you gotta be honest about this stuff. It's the truth.
So there's no compromise when you don't feel like he's attractive?
But no, there's no compromise. If I'm not, there has to be, I have to think you're attractive. I've dated men that I thought were facially unattractive and it just,
but at least you gave him a chance though. So what made you give him a chance?
Because you have the moments where you're like, you know what, God, they're nice. Maybe I'm being superficial, God.
Yes.
God ain't answer you. All right, God, I'ma just, he's nice. Played in your face, and then you be like, how dare you be the one to play my face?
So let me ask you this. Is there a world, God knows his daughter, but is it a world where this guy meets everything you desire? Mm-hmm. You tell him you abstinent, he says, you know what, I've been abstinent too. I've been abstinent for a year, and hey, we're aligned with that. He's meeting your emotional needs. He's showing up spiritually with you. He's praying with you, not just praying over the meal, but he's praying over you. He shows up in the way that reflects the heart of God, but his face doesn't reflect the face of God.
He would have to anoint my eyes with hyssop. He would have to allow me to see men as trees. Now, if he anoints my eyes and I see this man, I think he's amazing. That's all I'm saying.
But can you see him amazing with his personality?
He would have to anoint my eyes.
Because they say that women, that you start seeing the other stuff, what you originally saw that was unattractive starts changing. You
yes, but that's on marginal. Like, that's on, like, I met him and he was okay. And then I spent time with him and he becomes more attractive. It's the same way an attractive guy, when you get to their character, you be like, what?
Yep, I say the same thing.
What is happening? But somebody that's like...
We ain't talking about facially challenged, as you explained. I'm talking about somebody you were initially attracted to.
Yeah, no, not necessarily attracted to, but they were like, you can be easy on the eye and I wasn't attracted to you. These are different conversations, right? So I could see a world where, or you could see a world where, like I said, I reference again, my parents was, they liked other people, but they were both aesthetically pleasing and they liked other people, and so they built a friendship. They liked the same things. They talk. So
how do you feel about that? Could you have that? Could you be with a guy that was initially attracted to your friend or other people? Man, I ain't gonna make them closely related. Would you date a guy that was attracted to your friend, but they wasn't dating each other?
If he initially thought she was attractive, but they didn't cross any barriers, All
right, so let's say somebody that was initially attracted to your friend, they getting to know each other, but they ain't nothing happened, and y'all was cool, y'all was just getting to know each other. He was like, y'all the one vibing, just like your parents. Would you give that guy a chance?
Yeah.
No questions asked. You'd be like, that's cool.
I would.
You wouldn't feel. You wouldn't feel like Plan B.
No. And this is like part of, and I'm also gonna say, at a certain age, and I think we have to like process. So there were things that I watched in both my parents and my grandparents where, like, my dad had cancer, right? And so for the last probably 2 to 3 years of my parents' marriage, they had jokes and giggles. My dad had stage 4 lung cancer. My mother was like bathing him, taking care of him. I'm not sure, I don't know what the intimacy and things like that were, but they liked each other. Yes. Right? And so there's a part of my mind that says that, like, I actually want to like this. I think through the lens of, like, if they can't wipe themselves, do I like them enough to wipe them and be able to crack a joke about it while it's happening? So there is a thing for me that says that the attraction matters, but also the vibe matters. And if y'all didn't cross no lines and she not devastated and heartbroken, all the things, and it's just that, like, we was chatting and it was like a vibe, I don't have issue with that, but I actually need to like
that person.
The person. Like, and I this is like a funny, and I won't go down the rabbit hole, but I posted, and the girls ate me up on Facebook, but I put up a post that was kind of like, I wanted to date for like a month or two and put like $150, I think, cap on the dates. You can't spend no more than this, right? And the people were like, if they don't have, I said, I didn't say they didn't have more than 150. I just said we weren't spending more. And the idea behind that was, if you can't pay for lavish stuff, what can you create that's fun? Because I will go to dinner and play Uno at the table. Like, can we play cards at the table and talk and laugh? Can we enjoy stuff? Because, and I'm not ever looking to be in a space where I can't afford to go outside, but every dinner, every night ain't gonna be
$150 and plus.
Yeah, we not catching flights every day. I don't even want that life, to be honest, right? So those are the kinds of things where I was like, can this be a situation where, in all honesty, we actually can sit at a table at a regular restaurant and pull out a deck of cards and laugh and talk and engage, because but that's also what I saw in the relationships that I grew up seeing. Like, people actually enjoyed each other's company.
And they ate you up saying what? That your standard was too low?
If the standard was too low, I think, again, because reading comprehension is at an all-time low. It was like, if they can't afford to spend more than $150, and I was like, I didn't say any of that in the post.
And I wonder this too, where do we get that $150 is not a lot of money to spend on a date? Like, what are you eating?
First of all, people be wanting to eat places that they don't feed themselves. That's number one. Number two, the whole purpose of dating is not about
how much I can impress you,
how much somebody can impress you. And I think we've turned dating into how fast can I get something, how much money can I make you spend?
Exactly.
Those are the dichotomy. If I'm trying to get to know a person, I don't want to do that in a movie theater. I don't necessarily want to do that in a comedy club. I might want to take a walk. I might want to, like, be in spaces where you can have a conversation. I want to walk you down the street and see how many times your head turn while I'm walking. I want to observe this.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be hard for you when they walking this way and you ain't paying attention. But we not even paying attention because you sitting at the restaurant, he's looking at everybody behind your head and you don't even know it.
So what does that do to you then?
What?
How do you feel about it when the he got a wandering eye and he's looking at
If it's a lie, I'm going to be like, you all right? I'm going to ask, are you all right?
He said, yeah.
If somebody's beautiful, I might be like, well, she is good. Like, you can, but if you can't, you losing your sentences.
He like, so
yeah, if you got that, okay. I had somebody show up one time, this is years ago, with the hickey on his neck. I went on a date. I absolutely went on that date. We went to a baseball game. I enjoyed the game. He knew it was on his neck when he got to me. Nobody did that to you and you didn't know.
It wasn't.
It was here.
Oh, it was very present.
I surely went on that date. I ate my food. I did all the things.
You didn't hold it against him, did you?
I didn't have another date, but I went on that one. I was already dressed.
So tell me, what was wrong with that?
It was disrespectful.
Why?
Like because you're coming out with somebody else, you could at least put on a turtleneck. It was cool enough outside for you to camouflage. You showed no effort.
What if he said, I'm just transparent?
That's fine. I'm transparently not going on date number 2. I'm not mad at you for your choices. I get to opt out. My opting out is not a punishment, it's a choice. You showed up on a date with the hickey on your neck on the passenger side. You didn't even tell sis to do it over here, so I'd have to look at it. Every time I look over to speak to you, I'm looking at the hickey. I'm going to eat this dinner. I'm going to go to this game. I'm going to enjoy myself at the time. I'm not going to return your calls.
So when a guy calls you, you just ghost him?
I didn't. Well, did I answer him? I think at that time I might have just been like, I didn't have the greatest time. I didn't explain why.
So let me ask you this. Is that a typical thing? Did you let a guy know, hey, this is not working. We're not aligned?
I'll tell him now. I mean, this story was not
a long time ago. But I'm talking about currently, as you're dating, do you let a man know that, or you just stop answering his call?
No, I'll tell somebody like I don't think this is a good alignment. Now you got to be willing to accept. Like I don't have a lot of rabbit holes to go to, because I've also had there was a man I think I met on Facebook. He was interacting, reaching out. I found out from another friend that he was one of those. I'm reaching out to all of the women in entrepreneurship men. So I'm talking to one of my friends and I mentioned his situation. She's like, "Girl, you talking to my friend?" And Facebook ain't. I mean, the world is big, but
yes.
And so he had called me and I was like, "Hey, I really don't want to talk." And he got very like I owed him an explanation. And I finally was like, "Sir, we've been on 3 DMs and 4 or 5 phone calls. You haven't even bought me dinner. I don't really owe you more than I don't want to talk anymore." But I've gotten comfortable being like, I don't have to explain it to you. Yeah, I don't have to owe you. I'm not gonna be nasty. But if you're gonna keep pushing, like I owe you, I'm also gonna, let's run down these stats. You haven't even sent me flowers. I don't owe you a deep discussion on why I don't think that I want to continue talking to you.
Let me ask you this. You touched on that. We haven't been on a date. You haven't sent me flowers. Mm-hmm. Why is that significant?
Because I feel like we're not invested enough now where I owe you an answer. So if I've spent your time and money and things like that, I think it's respectful to say, hey, you've invested something here. It's like job interviews. Like, you sending your resume. I never even called you. Why are you calling me every day asking me
why I ain't got hired?
Yeah, like, but if I've invited you in for an interview, you spent hours, you took off time. I think that point is ghosting. The stuff I tried the online, and the guy told me I was gonna be single for a long time because I read too many books. I'm quoting this. He said, "Black men don't read books." And he said that I seem to be the type of person that was attracted to people's intellect. And so the smarter I got, the more books I read, my dating pool was. This is the stuff that people be saying outside.
He said the more books you read, the smarter you got, and the more
my dating pool is going to shrink. I said, so why don't you tell your fellow black men to read more books? I don't know how why is this a me problem? Start a book reading campaign.
How did that conversation?
Because he was asking about like he was asking me about what I was attracted to, and I guess maybe I used a vocabulary word or something. He was like, "Do you read a lot?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I think it was one of those. I was like, "Well, if an intellectual person carry a conversation," and that man gave me the hard truth that I was gonna be single for a long time because if I kept reading at this rate. If I kept my library card up to date, baby, it was going to be hard in these streets. But again, that stuff to me is comical and it doesn't frame. Like literally, I have a friend now in Houston who I will not name, but he'll know I'm talking about him, who we met. Somebody tried to hook us up. And he was like, and I was living in New York at the time. He was very honest. I don't do long distance. And he's like, I'm not into monogamy. But he had great conversation. We still talk. When I moved, he helped me hang up my TV, all the things.
So now you're polyamorous? No.
I'm not. we're still cool though because he said it early.
Yes.
And I didn't make it my job to make him change his mind.
That's the part right
so
there.
you are saying things that are telling me at the gate,
that
this ain't it. This ain't it.
Yeah.
So, but we had great conversations, debates about things. He would let me get my opinion out. He wasn't dogmatic. He wasn't angry. He had really good views on roles and things, relationships. He just was like, I'm not here for monogamy, but I'm gonna mow everybody grass. Everybody I'm dating, their grass gonna be mowed. I'm gonna make sure all the stuff is fixed. So when I moved, I was like, can you help me hang this TV? He came over and helped me hang it. And it's always been good. He checks it. It's a check-in, but he doesn't push any boundaries.
It's working for him.
It's working for him. But I think I'm good because we have a decent friendship.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I hear what you're saying. And you are a time. You are funny.
He's gonna be my homeboy.
Yeah, you're gonna be the homeboy.
Straight platonic.
And he be told me, I was like, let me tell you what to do with this one. He talked to me about women sometime, and I'm like, now, sir. Now, you already know, we have really candid conversations, but I think it's because I've now gotten to a place, too, where I don't try to make people who they're not. And so if you're honest, you got a lot of me at this point. You would have to present to me a totally different individual. But I've learned to hear people's truth and identify if their truth aligns with mine. And if it doesn't, then is there another box for you? And if not, also, we can stop talking.
That part. Back to the original question.
What was the original question?
Do you feel hopeful or hopeless?
I really do. I feel hopeful.
That's good.
I feel hopeful. And I want every woman to feel hopeful. Realistic, bound, wrapped up in realistic thoughts. I do want us to do the work, the internal work that is necessary for that hopefulness to be grounded in something real. I was looking at, and not to ramble, but the scripture faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And I was looking at it really differently because God was basically saying, faith makes your hope real.
Yeah.
It doesn't say faith is the substance of things hoped for in God. It doesn't qualify. So if you're putting hope in something, you can hope in it, and your faith will make that real even when it's not. So we have to be careful about where our hope is. So yes, I'm hopeful, but I also think I'm able to be hopeful because my hope is placed in a way that is much more centered and much more grounded and much more honest. And it's not grounded in everybody else's opinion about what makes a relationship.
That's good. And there's no timelines. You got rid of timelines?
As far as what you mean, when it has to happen?
Now, because you think you got your biological clock ticking, and so is your mind? Are you in a mindset of total surrender where you go, God, whenever it's supposed to happen? If I'm 60 years old, I saw a post of a lady that was 79 years old that got married. I know you don't want that testimony.
I'm okay getting married that old, but I'm gonna tell God He can keep the kids by that time. By that time, it's all right with the children, Lord. You don't have to answer that part of the prayer. You can still send a husband. You don't have to answer the children part. You don't have to open my womb. That's okay. We're gonna be okay. But I also, again, I think I think one of the blessings of this season has been I actually believe God loves me.
So let me tell you something. The reason why I asked that question, when you're in a place of total contentment, that's when you'll meet your spouse. So you're in this space right now that, watch what I tell you. We're gonna talk next year around this time. You're gonna be like, I'm getting married. It's this thing that happens, and I see it all the time. I've seen it with my friends. I'll talk to them, and I'll be like, yeah, you about to get married, and then they'll end up getting married. Yeah, I'll say that for later. I have a book coming out, and I'll just say this. I have this book coming out, and one of my my ghostwriter that's working with the book, I just turned in the final copy last week, but she was combating me on some theories that I had in my book. And I was like, write what I said. You know what I'm saying? She's like, but Terrace, I don't agree with this. I said, I'm gonna tell you this. If you listen to my book, you get a chance to read it and write at the same time. If you listen to what I'm saying right now, I promise you, your dating life will look different. She's been abstinent for, I don't know how many years, 12 years, 30, some long time, whatever it was. She started doing that. She called me last weekend. She said, Terrace, thank you.
Is my copy available today? Do you have them to pass out?
I have to pass out. Listen, Joy, she said she's getting married January the 6th. And she said there's no way she would be able to be there if she hadn't listened to me. I mean, like, because she said, I challenged everything that she thought. And I said, I'm telling you, there's some stuff that I know about men and relationships and love. I can't have a podcast that I'm doing this every week and I don't learn anything. Yeah. And I said, it's just certain things. And I said, and I recognize what her deficiency was in dating. Christian woman, sold out for God, but I recognized that deficiency. And she would argue and combat with me about certain stuff. I said, all right, listen. And she said, so she called, she said, well, 99% of what you said was true. It's still 1%.
That's the 99% that got you that January date.
It got you that January date. And the dude wanted to get married earlier. He was like, can we get married in October? She was like, well, no, I want some other things to take place that I got to do but let's do it January. But he was very intentional. She started speaking to him in the way that I was telling her how to talk to a man. Changed everything. Yeah. And so my thing is, one of the things that a lot of men are going to gravitate, you said some things at the very beginning of this episode that men love to hear, which is accountability. When you started saying that when you looked at how you were dating from a place of desperation or a place of thirst. When you talked about in your previous marriage, how you handled that, you came from a place of, I needed to be loved, which was so selfish. And never once did you say, I wanted to see how to love him based on his love language. Never once did you say that. You also talked about what led you to that with the grief unhealed grief that you were going through with the loss of your parents. And so you're putting all this on a guy, and most men, unfortunately, aren't equipped to carry that level of burden, quote unquote, because they look at it as a burden instead of saying, let me cover my wife in this season, and let me teach her and cultivate her in this season and redirect her to a place of healthiness. Like, baby, I think you need therapy. Can
most men say that to us and we not go off?
You get mad. See, you about to get mad when I just said that. Therapy? You think I need therapy? No, I'm messing with you. But yeah, why would you get mad? You think in the place you were in back then, you would have got mad?
I probably would have been offended.
How could he have said that in a nice way?
I don't think there was a way. Because I don't know, because I would have heard it. Again, everything about those lenses says that you hear everything through the lens of rejection, through the lens of a judgment or whatever. So you could 5-star dinner. I think that we should go to therapy. What's wrong with us? Like, there would have been no way. So I don't know.
What's wrong with us?
Yeah. we as in you, like, I know what those conversations would look like.
We as in you? Ain't nothing wrong with me.
Right.
Man, so yeah, but the place of accountability that you're speaking from is refreshing. And I always love when you said that if we're honest with ourselves, we can look at ourselves, an inward look at ourselves, and know how we're showing up. And know how, you know what, I wouldn't have been a great mother back then. I wouldn't have been a great father. I wasn't ready to be a husband. I wasn't ready for whatever that is. When you've done the work, you speak in that level of language. And it comes from a place of transparency that is disarming to a lot of people, because they listen to that and they go, this girl just said that she wasn't ready to be a mother. Oh no, I've always been ready. You be like, you always been ready. I've been ready as soon as I had my first cycle. Yeah, you're like, come on, let's be real.
When I was 6, and I knew.
I knew. My mama always said I was gonna be a good mother. Yeah, but
your mama had to say.
Yeah, your mama done told you that. But to be able to say, you know what? Yeah, I did have some maturing to do. Yeah. I say that a lot. Even in my past, I was married before, but I was very, very, very immature to carry the title of husband. I didn't even know what the word husband meant until year 8 of my marriage. Wow. I said, let me go look at what this word meant. No one ever look at what that is. You know what I'm saying? The first thing that they do at a job, they give you a job description and tell you what it is. You get married, don't give you no job description. No. We say these vows, but it's not a job description. You say for better or for worse, what they look like. Because what somebody else's better is and somebody else's worse is, lights get cut off. She said, oh, I ain't dealing with this. And she can leave. He like, well, no, my credit card changed that I put on file.
This was the worst.
Yeah, this was the worst. Oh, no, I done told myself when I was little, I grew up with the electricity getting cut off. And I said, if a man ever got the electricity cut off, he can't be mine.
And that's an important piece, is that if we don't if we don't take a time to say, these are all the things that happened to me.
Yep.
And up until this point, these are all the things that happened to me that I have to address, how they impacted me, what they did to me, how they made me feel, in the ways they made me feel vulnerable, all that stuff, so that everything past this point doesn't re-trigger. People talk about trauma informed. I think we're just kind of like trauma lens. Like trauma informed says I'm aware enough of trauma to make certain decisions. Like I'm informed of it, I understand it. Trauma lenses or trauma scopes is I see everything through the lens of a traumatic event. And so the lights then flickered and you then immediately went back. And I think those are the moments where we don't stop to say, what was this wasn't a big deal. It was a big deal because I attached it to that.
Which was a bigger deal.
And if I detach it, it's still a big deal.
That part.
And if it's not still a big deal when I detach it, then I got to figure out how to deal with that piece, because those things are always going to make everything
bigger than what it is.
Explode and be bigger than what they are.
When I say that is when you do the work and you can look at it and just say, hold on, let me take a step back. They didn't really mean that. That situation really wasn't what it was. And let me go ahead and just apologize quickly and move on and give people enough grace to grow.
Yep.
But like I said, with the husband thing, 8 years in, looked it up. The word husband comes from the Norse word husbande, which means one who holds his house together. Okay. Keeper of the house. Well, you grow up in a black family, most of the time you're seeing the woman keeping the house together. If you're just a single parent home, I grew up in a 2-parent home, but my mom was the one keeping the house together. My dad was the breadwinner, but my mom came off her job to do what? Keep the house together. And so I grew up with a different frame or a lens of seeing my role as just the provider when I wasn't the husbande, the one that was supposed to keep that house together. And so I looked that up one day and I said, oh my God, I'm terrible. Like I am absolutely terrible. And so after my divorce, I started doing work to say, I never want to take these vows again without becoming the person that deserves the wife that you're saying you want. Because a lot of times we always talk about what we want, but we don't want to be what is required to get what we want. And so I said, I'm gonna put the onus on me and become that exceptional husband prior to my wife, so that when God gives her to me, I'm able to say, God, I'm gonna treat her well.
Personal responsibility in most wars, I think, is just most of what I hear, even in the relationship battles, and I try to stay away from them as much as possible, but in most of the conversation is a very who has it harder, who has the biggest struggle. Do black men have it harder, black women do? And it's like, if I can just own me, I'm even of the mindset that, like, I think women should hold women accountable and men should hold men accountable. It's hard for women in certain contexts to hold men accountable to a male experience.
Yes.
Because it's going to come across accusatory. It's going to come across as a devaluation of his manhood, right? Where a man can say, bro, right? It's a different, women the same way. But we're spending so much time trying to get each other together. And I literally had to, like, I think the best thing that God did was talk to me crazy. On them days he talked to me crazy because it made me do self-work. And I think when you start doing self-assessments, you actually don't have a lot of time to point out what everybody else did. Because when he started highlighting all your stuff, you ooching and ouching so bad, you like
let me
they
stay
did
quiet.
What?
Yeah.
Somebody did something else? Because other than me, I'm not the only one getting beat up over it. So I think that there really needs to be a lot of personal, even if both people were wrong, owning your piece of the wrong. What did I do that let this escalate 10 blocks further than it needs to escalate? And if I can go back, my mom used to say, like, go back to where you were last right. And if you had done something different right there, would that have changed the whole trajectory? If it would have, then apologize for where you stopped being right and see what comes from that. But instead, we go to who was last wrong, not when you was last right, but when that person was last wrong, and we want them to, and all it does is, but then you did, and you've been in an argument 2 hours, everybody, we watching the movie backwards, trying to go to who got it's just.
That's good. Go back to when you were last. You said go back to when you were last wrong.
The last right. So the last right thing you did, after that, it was downhill. So go back to that point.
And then reverse engineer it.
And reverse engineer everything you did past that point. Because at that point, now we have just escalated wrongs, right?
We have a snowball.
Yeah.
Joy, let me tell you, this has been a very pleasant conversation.
Absolutely.
It's been very interested. Like I said, I didn't know what we're going to talk about. I loved the discussion. This was cool. This was very, very cool. So I didn't know you had a sense of humor where you're going to crack jokes and say stuff or whatever. But because you'd be so serious when you walked in. You were just like, and yes, and what we're going to talk about? Okay. And she's talking about, the guy's going to have to explain to people when you said about the trees, because that's a whole biblical verse.
Oh, the anointing my eyes with eyes out. Oh, so there's a scripture where the man couldn't see, and so God anoints his eyes, and he was like, I see men as trees. So he had to anoint his eyes again. So I said, you're going to have to reverse anoint them. Let me see these men as trees if you want them to be looking suspect.
So
I gotta squint, take my contacts out, all the things.
I love biblical comedy, which means you gotta have a man that know the word so he can actually get that. Because if you don't, he'll be like, tree, why you want to see a man in a tree?
Yeah, and then I'm gonna be blank. I'm gonna be frustrated. And just blinking and staring, like, why? Why are we doing
like, nobody will read the Bible like that's the problem. The last dude told you need to quit reading.
You done read too many scriptures, now nobody get the jokes.
So you done read too many scriptures. Well, listen, how can people support you? What's your social media handles and all that good stuff?
My social media handle is The Joy You Need.
The Joy You Need.
The Joy You Need on Instagram, on TikTok. I'm barely on TikTok, so don't go over there looking for that much. But on Instagram, Facebook is Joy Pittman, and you can go to joypittman.com. I have a website that gives you some general information about the things I'm working on and things.
Well, tell them what you're working on.
So I've written some books that are predominantly focused on leadership through a biblical perspective. So I spend a lot of time on translating biblical things into like models that work. So you can get those on Amazon. Just look up Joy Pittman on Amazon. There's things on my website. I also run a non-for-profit called When Faith Meets Strategy that is really focused on specifically helping urban ministries think about financial sustainability outside of giving. So what can churches do to have revenue that doesn't rely on the pew so much, and think about those things. I do a morning devotional called Count It All Joy. So we're live every morning.
Was that on
Monday
Facebook?
through Friday. It's on Facebook and YouTube. And it's called Count It All Joy. We're on around 6:30 Central. And it's just really word and devotional. And we have an event in August called The Crossroad in Houston.
The Crossroad.
Yep. I'll invite you.
When is August?
It's August 13th through the 16th.
August 13th.
And we'll see if the dates match. But it really is designed to just be a space where we come and hear from God. The theme is back to the blueprint. And the idea is we've been building a lot of stuff that we want God to bless, but we want to go back to like, what did God intend for us to build? And so it's really meant to be just not really a conference, but a convening of believers to like hear from God and look at our businesses and our ministries and see how we're really having impact in the world for Him and not for ourselves.
That's good. So the website again is what?
JoyPittman.com.
JoyPittman.com. Real simple. First name, last name, Pittman.
Yes.
JoyPittman.com. Hey, y'all give it up for my homie, Joy Pittman, y'all.
Stay tuned to the end for a letter to my future wifey.
I'm writing these love letters to you.
Ladarian thrusted suddenly into Child Protective Services in 2015. My nephew, Black, a boy. The likelihood of being adopted outside of kinship, slim to none. Armani, 16 years old, Black, a boy, with 5 years in the foster care system before I even knew his name. The likelihood of ever being adopted, yep, you guessed it, slim to none. While Ladarian and Armani were trying to survive and barely thrive in an overpopulated and underfunded foster care system, I was living my own life, doing well professionally. Having been a single father with a daughter who at that point was doing well in college, it was my time to live my life, right? Wrong. I felt unsettled, tireless, agitated. There are just too many of our Black children stuck in ambiguity and in the limbo of the foster care system. In 2017, I legally adopted my nephew, Ladarian. Fast forward to 2019, I had no ties to this other young king, but I felt God instructed me to adopt him also, and I obeyed. Starting over with parenting should have been enough, right? Working with various foster care and adoption agencies to help bring awareness to the countless young Black kings in the foster care system should have decreased my agitation, right? Joining the board of directors of Advantage Adoption, an organization that helps find permanent adoptive homes for children in foster care, should have led to some type of resolve, right? No, not at all. None of it felt like I had done enough. I now realize that every one of those experiences was laying the fundamental foundation for my life's mission, Kingdom Royale. Kingdom Royale will be a luxury, state-of-the-art home for foster boys. Our first location will be in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. We will utilize the whole person approach that instills identity, empowers them to advocate for themselves, and enlightens them regarding new perspectives and limitless options that they thought were impossible. Though the young kings will attend the local public schools that are in proximity to Kingdom Royale, our at-home curriculum will broaden their worldview through participating in the arts, attending various cultural events, learning about and engaging in multifaceted discussions about current events and even relevant historical context, introducing them to gardening and landscaping and even caring for our animals on our farm and on-site stables. We just launched our Startup Capital campaign with the goal of raising $2.8 million. Now, why $2.8 million? Well, in 2017, I created a web series in which I performed random acts of kindness for targeting the homeless community. One of the most notable successes was that one of the videos went viral, garnering 28 million views. However, one of my biggest regrets is that I didn't raise a single dollar to help in implementing a more sustainable plan for the homeless community. So throughout the years, with much remorse, I reflected on not maximizing that moment. I knew if at that time, just 10% of the viewers donated $1, we would have raised at least $2.8 million that could have really established long-term support for the homeless community, or at least started a long-term initiative to do so. This is my do-over. This is our new beginning. Together, we can attack this at the root by specifically helping our homeless Black boys who are already disproportionately represented in the American foster care system. I'm LaTerra Whitfield. I've been nominated for 3 regional Emmys documenting my work with the homeless as well as my personal adoption journey. Despite those accolades, the greatest award for me is truly providing the infrastructure for a transformed life. Visit kingdomroyale.com for more details. Crown a king and make a donation today. Well, here's my favorite part of the podcast where I speak to my future queen. Dear future wifey, I used to think that compatibility meant sameness, that your thoughts would echo mine, your preferences mirror my own, and your pace match step for step with mine. But love has taught me something wiser. Differences aren't deficits, they're dimensions. You're not less because you're not like me. You're more because you bring something I never could. Where I seek spontaneity, you may thrive in structure. Where I lean into logic, you may lead with emotion. And I thank God for that. Your presence, a prism that refracts life in colors I once overlooked. I no longer fear friction. I welcome it. Not the kind that bruises, but the kind that sharpens. The kind that smooths my rough edges and calls me higher. I don't need a reflection of me. I need the revelation of us. So I won't try to remake you in my image. I'll honor you and yours because unity isn't uniformity, it's harmony. And harmony is only possible when different notes agree to create beauty together. So here's to our disagreements that won't divide us, to the lessons wrapped in our differences, and to the grace that will meet us in the middle again and again. Your future hubby.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Dear Future Wifey podcast. Remember, be lit, live intentionally and transparently, and don't stop loving.
Make sure to subscribe to our Dear Future Wifey YouTube channel. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher. We welcome your support. Simply share our podcast with your friends and family.